Good evening, everyone. I'm Frank Novak, and this is Point of Reference. Tonight, we give you a brief introduction to each candidate running for office in the city of Haverhill, incumbent as well as newcomer, in an effort for you to get to know them a little better and help you decide who to vote for on Election Day, November 7th. We're very proud that almost 100% of the candidates took us up on our invitation to help you become a more informed voter. Making his first run for political office in the city of Haverhill is City Attorney Rich Rosa, and he's decided to throw his hat in the ring for the Haverhill School Committee, and he's here to tell us why. Welcome to the program, Rich.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Tell us, why did you decide to make a run for the Haverhill School Committee?
I've lived in the city for more than 20 years. I own a business here. I've been an attorney for almost 22 years. The city's been good to me, and I want to give back to the city. I have a freshman at the high school. I think the schools are important. I think they're important not only for the students, but for the city as a whole. And that's why I'm running. I want to help.
With the idea of no matter how well you're doing, you can always do better, how do you think the Haverhill school system can do better with you being on the Haverhill School Committee?
You know, I think I'd bring a businessman's perspective to the school committee if I'm elected. You know, there's a lot of good ideas. There's a lot of hardworking teachers. There's good administrators. I think where sometimes the school department stumbles is in execution. And so as a business person, I understand that you could have the best ideas, but if you don't execute on those ideas, you're not going to succeed.
Could you give us an example?
Well, let's
of
talk
what they, if you were able to hit the rewind button, what they did in a certain way that you would have suggested be done differently.
Well, let's talk about out-of-district spending for special education. It's $3.1 million this year for 77 students. It's up 70% in 3 years, from $1.8 million in 2014-2015 to $3.1 million today. That is an area where we could do better. If we build the programs that the children with special needs need, their parents won't want to take them out of the district, and we won't have to pay that private school tuition. And so that's an area where we could improve. We could not only do the right thing for kids, but we could do the right thing for taxpayers.
So are you thinking that maybe, when that money is paid outside of the district, that saps and takes out of our budget and then just affects all students generally across the board? No?
Absolutely. We could do those programs much more efficiently and less expensively than what we're paying for them to go out of district.
In some cases, and it's not the child's fault, I mean, in some cases, I understand that there are some students that require an expenditure of $300,000 a year. That seems like an astronomical figure.
I don't know that it's quite that high. I know that in the past there's been talk about, you know, student coming in and costing $500,000. I don't think it's quite that high, but yes, you know, $100,000, $200,000. Yes, students can actually cost that much.
What is the overall cost per student as far as education based upon the budgetary circumstances in the city of Haverhill? Do you know?
It's what we're spending per student.
Right.
It's approximately $12,300, something in that range. It's less than 13. It's more than 12,000. I know that.
In of 351 cities and towns across the state of Massachusetts, Haverhill ranks per pupil spending toward the bottom.
It does.
Where not too many years ago we were about mid-range.
That's correct.
What happened?
Schools are expensive. Our city's had a lot of other things that they've got to pay for, and we haven't kept up.
Many people will figure, well, you don't need to throw a lot of money at a situation in order to make it more effective. Having said that, and with Haverhill spending a lower amount on a cost per pupil basis, do you believe that as well?
Well, we've gone up $25 million in the last 8 years,
okay,
from about $54 million to we're at $79 million for this school year.
Mm-hmm.
So we've raised you know, the amount we're spending quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
This past budget we went up 7.1%, $5.3 million. But there's a lot of things that need to be paid for. Out of that $5.3 million increase in our budget, 4.6 was for contractual obligations, raises. So that left about $700,000 to expand other programs. Now, I should point out that special education out-of-district spending went up $800,000. So
okay,
that's why that is so important to get that budget line item under control.
Is it true or is it a fallacy that the more money you spend, the better performance you get from the student?
I don't think that it's dollar for dollar. You're gonna, you know, I think it's a combination of spending money wisely, targeting money, you've got to spend, right? We can't, educating children is expensive, and certainly we have to keep supporting our schools and supporting our teachers. But the city of Cambridge, I think, spends more than any other city in the entire state per pupil by far, and I don't think anyone's saying that they have the best schools in the state of Massachusetts.
Fair enough. If we talk about the number of students that happen to go out of the district, and when they do, the money follows them, and then we have students that come in from out of the district, what is the ratio on that, and how does that work?
I don't know how many go out compared to come in, but as again, going back to special education, as it applies to special education, when there are smaller rural districts that can't create special education programs just for one student, when they send our students in, it's quite a gain for us in terms of what they're paying us to educate that student as compared to what it costs us. So that's another reason to build up these programs, because other districts will want to use us for their students, and that will be a net gain for us.
When you take a look at the school system, and as a school committeeman, how would you cite the distinction, differentiation for, let's say, programs for gifted students versus remedial programs for students that need help?
Well,
do you think there's sufficient opportunity for both?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could always improve, but for example, we have in the high school a classical academy, which people rave about. There's also other academies, STEM academy, a business academy. I believe there's an arts academy. I actually think that it might be time for us to consider an academy for kids that are at risk of dropping out. We have a dropout rate that is higher than we'd like it to be, and maybe that's an opportunity right there.
So you're looking at you're looking to make that type of innovation and application if you were to go into the school committee? It's
a conversation we have to have. I mean, we all could agree that, we may not all agree on the numbers in terms of dropout rates, but we could all agree that it's too high and we should do something about it. So I think having conversations like, an academy for at-risk kids, or maybe an innovation school within the school for at-risk kids is a good idea.
In less than a minute left, could you tell us what would be the first initiative you tried to move forward if you were elected as a school committeeman? I
don't know if it's so much an initiative as it is to, work on a strategic plan with the administration so that we have a pathway going forward, and then, creating solutions, tracking progress, and making sure that we stay on track. I think that's, executing, like I said earlier. I think that's probably the most important thing we could do.
Excellent. Rich Rosa, running for Haverhill School Committee. We wish you the best of luck, Rich.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll be back in just a moment with more. I hope that this program has been a point of reference for you. And until next time, my name is Frank Novak, and thanks very much for watching. And remember to vote on November 7th.